if you ask somebody who has sleep apnea or think of somebody who might have sleep apnea, what many of us will have a picture of is an overweight white male who snores
Uh-huh.
and
Yep.
is a little older.
Uh-huh.
And that's the classic picture that the doctors, as well as we and all of the websites, they all show an overweight, older white male as, let's get on your CPAP needs. So, first of all, that is completely and utterly false.
Welcome to Hormone Heroes, where I share testimonials from real people who have experienced bioidentical hormone therapy. Men and women share the symptoms they have experienced and the difference proper hormone replacement has made. I'm your host, Dr. Kelly Hopkins, and I have been in the functional medicine space for over 30 years, with a focus on hormones for 20 years. Please keep in mind this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Please consult with your physician or practitioner for medical advice. Let's get started with today's guest. Hello and welcome to the podcast. Today we have a very special guest. Her name is Beverly Meyer. She is a certified clinical nutritionist and a functional medicine practitioner for many, many years. She's been in business since 1985. So welcome, Beverly.
Well, thank you so much for letting me come on. I'm happy to share anything that I can share to help people live a happier and more comfortable life. That's kind of been the goal for me with my own life and health search. So I'm eager to help others achieve that.
Yeah, and you are located in San Antonio, Texas.
I am. I do. I have a practice here in San Antonio, but then, of course, I work with clients virtually, well, all over the world, really. So,
That's fantastic. So before we jump in, we're going to talk about sleep apnea here in a little bit. But before we jump into that, talk to us about how you co-founded the Paleolithic diet.
well, I was a person raised on basic high quality food, meats and two vegetables, and maybe some potato or something. But I was never raised as a fast food, processed food kid. And I'm in my 70s, so many of us were raised with proper food, and I've always eaten that way. And I have celiac, I have irritable bowel, all these things. So over time, I learned that the more I managed my diet, the better I would feel. And I've loved off and on to keep journals of, okay, let's see what happens when I take a month off of avocado. All right, let's try eating avocado again for 2 weeks or whatever it is. I came through trial and experience to learn things. And it was very apparent to me that coming off of gluten and wheat was only the beginning, that it's all the grains. And the fundamental number one premise of all the biological ancestral paleoprimal diets is no grains: wheat,
Right.
rice, corn, oats, rye, barley, because what they are is grass seed. That's grass seed. And humans are hunters and gatherers. We don't bend over like a horse or a deer and forage for grasses and grass seeds. Our digestive enzymes are not adapted to it, and the high carb nature of it makes us overweight and gives us blood sugar and metabolic problems and all of this. So the more I learned about that for myself and my clients, the more I kept experimenting with, call it basically, a meat and two veg, some tuber on the side, and everything else is basically a condiment, like a small amount of fruit or this or that, rather than basing your food on carbohydrate. And the more I began to teach that and so on, and then suddenly here start coming the books about it with an unfortunate name of the paleo diet or the primal diet. And so, there we have it. I was one of the first people in there working with that diet before it even had a name. So
Wow.
yeah, it's pretty amazing. And I still teach that way today. And what's interesting is that when when people when I explain to them what a carbohydrate, which is sugar-based diet, is doing to them, and that what I want them to eat is animal proteins and cooked vegetables and some tubers and lots of fats, and that this is the way we evolved to eat. And most people, especially women, are thrilled. They're like, you mean You mean it's okay to eat? And, it's like, well, because the people never make it to my contact for help page if they live on, bread and pizza and cinnamon rolls and sugar smoothies. They're not making it to me anyway. So
Right.
people who do come to me are usually thrilled. It's like, wow, okay, I can eat real food and plenty of it. Yes, you
Uh-huh.
can.
Yeah, it's what our bodies need, isn't it?
It is.
So, if someone was to work with you virtually, what would that look like?
Well, it's the same process, whether they're sitting in the room or we're on the phone or whatever, that I'm going to ask them to fill out a week's food diary and fill in some good history forms and have the most basic labs available, which I walk them through how to get if they don't already have them. And then we start, and I spend a lot of time with people. So this goes on over a couple of sessions for hours, because here's the thing, and you know this in your practice too, when someone comes and says, okay, I need help with migraines, and that may be the contact reason. But as we get into it, very quickly, it's like, well, and I have Epstein-Barr, and I only have one kidney, and I have scars that won't heal, and I have, dental problems and kidney disease. It's like whatever. Every person has their list of stuff. And here's what I tell them. What you're asking me is to help change your entire chemistry. And I I don't do what I do just to quote help your migraines. Everything is so connected. I have to know what you eat. How do you sleep? What do you think about? Where do you work? What's your history of, are you ill, or, I mean, what's going on with you? Because do you drink water, or do you just drink electrolyte drinks, or, all of this is important. And as we work on changing their chemistry with food and what you eat, what you drink, what you smell, these are the biggest ways to impact chemistry the fastest. And when we do that, the body can work on many things at one time. So it's not about throwing supplements at people. That I'm the anti-supplement person. I want people to understand how their body's working, and oh, I did sleep better. Just before we got on the air, I got an email from a client 2 weeks ago, said, oh my gosh, such and such is so much better. I can't believe I'm seeing improvements already. I'm like, it's been 2 weeks. Of course you're going to see improvements in changing that piece of their diet. And,
Uh-huh.
so things happen quickly when you address the big picture and not just throw a handful of pills at people. That to me, that's just all wrong.
I like what you said about everything is connected, and uh, and that was a really major statement that you said when you said, "I'm not just fixing migraines." If you give everyone the big picture and increase their health overall, so many aspects of life get so much better. Relationships, sleep, energy levels to be a good human, all those things just get so much better when you address the basic issues. So you mentioned testing. Are we talking about blood work? Are we kind of walk us through what kind of testing you like to see?
Well, many people in my profession and in functional health, I'm not an MD, so it's, functional health, not functional medicine, but meaning let's look for the cause of what is going on, not just treat a symptom, right? That's what allopathic traditional medicine is all about, and thank goodness for that. If I break my arm, I want a surgeon and x-rays and things happening. But otherwise, for the things that are happening day to day, the herpes virus, or the maldigestion, or the whatever it is, the most basic labs, blood work, just a comprehensive metabolic panel. That's
Okay.
the basic lab that every doctor should be running on you every year. It's like a page and a half of printed numbers, and vitamin D. So I insist on a basic CMP and vitamin D for our first appointment. And if people don't have that, many of them don't know about consumer labs, which are labs all over the United States, except the 5 states up in the north that don't allow consumer testing, but where you can just order your own labs and pay for them, and you don't need anybody's permission to do that.
Right.
And so I recommend people use lifeextension.com, and it's
Okay.
very affordable, and you can order all kinds of stuff there, and you just pay for it, and then they send you a requisition form for a local Quest lab. It's just, simple as could be, but it may be half what other consumer labs charge, and then you don't have to hassle your doctor 6 times to try to run a vitamin D or a thyroid panel.
Right.
So yeah, we can get started with basic stuff. Some of my peers, the ones who charge $600 an hour, even though they don't have a medical degree, and it's a whole other thing. Wow, they're like, okay, I need $2,500 worth of genetics and DNA and stool tests and all this other stuff before they'll even talk to you. And
Uh-huh.
I very, very much am against that. It's fishing for profit is what it is. It's like, oh, let's run dollar. I'm going to make thousands of dollars on you just to see if anything shows up anywhere in any lab, and then we'll just
Uh-huh.
fix that.
Yes.
And I'm like, no, that it's And the only other lab I use on everyone is salivary hormone testing. I don't use what's called Dutch, a dried urine hormone testing, although I could use it. I just don't because it's so complicated to read their reports. So I use salivary testing for male and female hormones, adrenals, some gluten antibodies, insulin resistance, secretory immune globulins. There's all kinds of things we can test very affordably with salivary testing. And the lab I use, the reports are really easy to read. And I like salivary tests free hormones.
Uh-huh.
Blood work tests total hormones, and that's a whole other topic that we don't have time to get into, but that's why I like salivary testing so much, is that it tests free hormones, which is what you want to know. How much available progesterone do I have?
Right. It's
and
available
and
for yeah.
yeah, and at what day of your monthly cycle, which is critical. If you're a menstruating female and you just take a random blood test for progesterone, you have no data from that at all, because the proper way to test progesterone is basically day 21 of the cycle, when your progesterone should be at its highest and your
Yes.
estrogen should be at its lowest, or tending to its lowest. And this is how I see in probably 70% of my salivary panels that people's progesterone is just too low, and it's not in balance with their estrogens and testosterone and so on. So anyway, that's a
Yeah.
whole other topic.
What lab do you like for your salivary testing?
I use diagnostics,
Yeah.
like diagnostics, but it's Techs,
Yes.
diagnostics. I've used them for 25 years, and the
Yeah.
reports are easy for you and me, both of us to read and look at and say, oh, and the Dutch test is fine, but it's, 9 pages of circles and arrows and graphs and numbers and ratios. I'm like, I don't have any idea what these people are talking about. I do, because pay attention and really work for it, but
It
it's just too complex.
Yes, yeah. Okay, so after you've gotten all the health history, lifestyle history, all these things, and you've done some testing, then you work with someone to remove certain things or foods that are getting in their way. Talk us
Well,
through the next step.
yeah. So the first appointment, I've got your forms, your diet, your labs. Now we have our first appointment, hour and a half. So the first thing, I mean, I'm looking at everything they send me, because they may have a really clean, they may have already been somewhat eating paleo and primal for years. On the other hand, they may be just not eating enough food and not eating proper food, just milkshakes or whatever. And so, yes, I'm going right for the food, because food first is my podcast motto. My podcast, Primal Diet, Modern Health. And I've been podcasting 14 years, and food first is my podcast motto. So I'm going right for the diet. But then, of course, with these other intake forms, not sleeping well and anxious for no apparent reason and, whatever. So I make big graphs and charts on all this that I can look at while we're talking. And it's kind of fun of how I do things, a little bit different.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a big bulletin board in front of me, and so I don't do face to face like Zoom talks with people. I'm on the phone because what I'm looking at is a big bulletin board in front of my face with all of their forms and their labs and my notes and things are pinned up there, so I can
Uh-huh.
literally look at this person without having to look at them in the face and like no, you'll just see me looking at the board. But anyway, so it's a little bit different. And so we go through the diet. I'll have a lot of questions like, well, when did you get diagnosed with Epstein-Barr and what treatment are you doing and how is it responding? And uh, are you aware that that's a member of the herpes virus family? So let me give you the diet that I use for the paleo diet adapted for herpes and start with that. And I see that you have headaches during the night. Okay, let's talk about sleep apnea. And so whatever. So we talk and I go through things that they've circled and try to draw the dots, connect the dots of what's
Yeah.
happening with this person. And then people need to be educated about fats. As you know, we're all been told fats are bad, just don't eat them, you know, and this is completely false. Humans are fat burners. We have become sugar burners, carb burners,
Uh-huh.
but we evolved as fat burners. And so we've got to get the food rearranged and help people understand that what types of saturated fats are essential. And if you're going to eat fruit and nut fats like avocado or olive oil, which are less important, we didn't eat them in evolution, how to find the ones that aren't basically cut with canola oil. And so there's a lot of education that has to go on. I can't just tell people, "Oh, stop eating, cereal for breakfast and try some steak and eggs and steamed broccoli or whatever."
Right.
So people leave with a lot of homework to do, and then we'll meet again in about 10 days for another food diary and, to see, oh, what worked? Where did you get stuck? Did you notice anything? And then we'll start a salivary hormone test. So
Okay.
the process. And then long-term clients, I've got clients that have worked with me 25 years. So then I can do a very sophisticated form of what we call muscle testing.
Uh-huh.
There are many types of muscle testing out there, but there are very, very few of us that do extremely comprehensive muscle testing. And I can do that with people in person or with samples. They mail me a little saliva and whatever. So, but that's
Okay.
that's in the future when people want to continue working and now actually really start getting to work on what's going on with their chemistry. How do I know if they need zinc or not? Some people it's obvious, other people it's not.
Uh-huh. Well, I'm just thinking about the years of experience that you have had. I know that sleep apnea is one of your favorite topics, and it's something that we have not highlighted, especially on this podcast. So let's dive into sleep apnea. Where do we start?
Oh, goody. I'm so happy to talk about this because I was recently diagnosed with sleep apnea in the fall of a year last year, and so 7 months ago or something, and it was a complete surprise to me, and which it doesn't happen very often because I'm so chronically attuned to and researching myself and testing myself with various labs and so on. But I asked for an at-home sleep test. My doctor was happy to give me one. And because I was waking up with headaches in the morning, and this has been going on for 10 years. And I had seen so many doctors, neurologists and orthodontics and chiropractors and osteopaths and physical therapy and myofascial release therapy and I mean on and on and on and Rolfing and for 10 years trying to understand these nighttime headaches. And not a single one of those professionals said, that's one of the top 5 symptoms of sleep apnea, which
And
is
you
just
weren't
infuriating.
Sure, and you weren't aware that you had sleep apnea, correct?
No, correct. I had no, in fact, I told my doctor, I said, I know I don't have sleep apnea, but I'd like to run a sleep study at home because I want to track my blood sugar, excuse me, my blood pressure over
Uh-huh.
the night. Maybe the hormones are low blood pressure. It's 10 years and I'm still fighting to try to get answers. And I thought, all right, let me see what my blood pressure is doing all night or, whatever. And then shockingly, I come back with sleep apnea. So let's define what sleep apnea is. So, first of all, let's say what it's not, because most of us have a picture in our minds. If you ask somebody who has sleep apnea or think of somebody who might have sleep apnea, what many of us will have a picture of is an overweight white male who snores
Uh-huh.
and
Yep.
is a little older.
Uh-huh.
And that's the classic picture that the doctors, as well as we and all of the websites, they all show an overweight, older white male as, let's get on your CPAP needs. So, first of all, that is completely and utterly false. So, children can have sleep apnea. Anyone of any age or height or race can have sleep apnea. And what it is basically obstruction in your airway so that when you're sleeping, maybe you've tucked your chin and have cut off part of your airway. But mostly when we lie down, and I've tried sleeping almost upright, I have an expensive electric bed to try to sleep partly upright, and that didn't help, but helped other things, helped my back. But what happens basically is the tongue and all the muscles and everything that hold it up relax, and the base of the tongue slides back and blocks your airway. And we are not aware of this. It's completely invisible to us because we're asleep. All right.
Mhm. And you
And
don't necessarily snore when that
well,
happens.
that's a very good point. Many people absolutely snore, and if you snore, you should get tested for sleep apnea because it's a common concomitant. There it is also one of the top. Oh, I forgot one of the other top symptoms: waking up startled in the night, like waking up and coughing if you sleep by yourself. Which I'm like, yeah, I have woken up coughing. I don't know why.
Uh-huh.
Or if you have a sleep partner, they're like, "Honey, you're waking up and coughing." Or I got up to roll over and you weren't breathing for 30 seconds. These are classic things of what's happening is basically your airways shut off. You can't breathe. So you just stop breathing.
So frightening.
Long time. Sometimes a really long time. So eventually, as your oxygen plummets from the lack of breathing and your pulse oximeter can record, whoa, oxygen levels going down, your body will squirt you with a blast of adrenaline and some other neurotransmitters and hormones to micro arouse you. Micro, just
Uh-huh.
enough so that you snap your tongue back up. And this is completely invisible. You do not know this in any way, that this may be happening hundreds of times a night. Okay,
Yeah.
that's really serious. So
Yes.
so that we stop breathing hundreds of times a night with no particular clues other than headaches during the night or on awaking, snoring, waking up coughing, jerking awake to breathe suddenly, a sleep partner that says, honey, are you okay? You're not breathing. And having to get up for nighttime urinations, it strangely is a symptom. Since I started with a CPAP, I don't have to get up at night. It's totally amazing the chemistry that's going on with your kidneys that, who knew?
Uh-huh.
There are other reasons for nighttime urinations, but that is one of the things that can change. So anyway, that's a little bit about what it is and why it is that to be aware of. And so sleep apnea, this undiagnosed halting of breath, perhaps hundreds of times a night. Oh, and the other key symptom, excessive daytime fatigue. And whatever you want to call it, brain fog. It's like, I call it when I'm like that, I'm like mildly stupid today. It's just not, I'm just a little bit out of it. But the daytime fatigue is, we all can have a little slump. If we've been living on carbs, we're going to have a sugar crash, but the daytime fatigue can get excessive, which means likely to have car wrecks, bad at your job, whatever. So that too. So what we have is tens of millions of undiagnosed people in the United States, or they've been diagnosed and just can't hassle using CPAP equipment because nobody has trained them or shown them how to work through it and make it more tolerable and make it more comfortable. And what are your statistics? And did this mask work better or did that mask work better? And the doctors are no help. They're just like, here, use this mask. Here's this machine. Have a nice life. And it's up to us to get online and start trying to find, well, can somebody help me?
So, what are your favorite ways to test? Obviously, it seems like if you could test at home, it would make.
Yeah,
uh,
home are fine.
Yeah, who's going to sleep well in a sleep apnea clinic? So, tell us how you would prefer people get tested.
Well, some people need to be in a clinical environment for whatever reason. It's a little more complicated, kind of a medical concerns going on with this person. But for most of us, a home sleep study, your primary, pretty much anybody will prescribe it for you, especially if you tell them some of the symptoms that I was just mentioning, like, gee, doc, I snore. I'm really tired in the day. My wife says I wake up coughing and not breathing very well. And I don't know. Can I do a sleep study? And they need those symptoms to justify a prescription for the test, right? They have to check the little boxes for your insurance. So be prepared. You can look at my article on diet and health about sleep apnea, what to ask for so they can justify. If you just say, oh, I'd like to run it, that doesn't help. The other option what I use and what many people use, it's a little box that you strap to your chest with just a little nose cannula, very simple thing. Oh, you wear a pulse oximeter on your finger that's attached to the box, and a couple little sticky electrodes that you stick on your neck and chest. So it's quite simple. And then you just sleep. And other doctors use a large ring that's not just, it's not like a little Aura ring or whatever. It's a big thing that can record all this data over a night because it's huge amounts of data. But I like the box on the chest method because it records as your chest rises and falls, and how much you're rising and falling. So little things like that are not little, they're huge. It helps the algorithm understand who are you and what is your problem and how bad is it. So that it's simple and it's not a big deal. That's the easy part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But before we move on, what brand is that, the box on the chest?
There are multiple ones.
Okay.
The one I use is Hiro, Hiro, but I don't think it matters. They're all the same thing, basically, just the box that straps to the chest as opposed to the ring.
Okay. And in some cases, insurance might pay for test or not?
It absolutely will pay for the test if you go in with the right, I've got these, 2, 3, 4, 5 symptoms, and I'd like to run a sleep test, please. Your doctor should be happy to write a prescription for it.
Okay. I know that my husband has used the ring, and I think he also tried one where it was something that wrapped around his wrist, but they both gave him the same information.
Well, as long as it's not just an oximeter, that it's recording your breathing rate and the volume of your breathing and when you stop breathing and all of that. So the ring can do that. I'm just not sure if it has the same amount of data as the little box chest. I'm just not sure.
I bet it just seems like the box on the chest would give you a lot more information.
To me, it does, but I haven't researched it. And there is a sleep lab here that does use the ring. So I don't know if it's just easier or whatever. I don't know. But here's the real story is once you get diagnosed, and by the way, even if you get diagnosed as mild, it's mild, moderate, severe. Even if you get diagnosed with mild, you should still look at taping your mouth, trying CPAP, all of this. And this is the easy part is the testing. It's going to get more difficult and more complicated. And, the insurance will give you a machine and a mask and then bye-bye. And you don't get to pick your machine. You don't get to pick your mask. You don't know what you're doing. And, they just put the general settings like on and off. It's like, this is like learning how to drive a car. There's a lot to understand about what is happening and how to adjust it and take care of it. And most people, let me give you the name before I forget. This is a really important, there are several CPAP forums, but this one, it's not a forum. It's much more than that. It's called Sleep HQ, like headquarters, sleephq.com. And this is an Australian little firm, two guys basically, but now it's really blossomed. And you basically can download your data to your account, to your file on their algorithm, and then you can pop in there anytime and compare. Oh, wait, what happened on Friday night when I tried this mask, and what happened on Tuesday night when I tried this mask? Whoa, that was a lot of leaks. Okay, let's try that mask again, but let's see if I can't fit it better, or my mouth tape came off, so that would have been recorded as a leak as well. So anyway, you've got all this data that now, and they have so much information and support, and I mean, you just can't even imagine. So this is used by people all over the world. So it's an immense group of people all committed to help me get better. And here's my problem. Who can look at my file and tell me what they see? And anyway, so sleephq.com. And okay, so that's that.
What? And I know that you're very aware and you teach people about different methods of CPAP equipment. What is kind of walk us through your favorite, or what's the most inobtrusive that's going to, not be this gigantic mask and you can't flip over.
A lot of people, especially there's a revolution in CPAP. Okay. The last 5 years, they've been making smaller masks and little nasal cups that one strap around the back of your head. I mean, very, very minimal things, which I have, and I'll show you mine. But so this is one, if your camera can pick it up.
Yeah, we see it.
So it's a strap for the back of your head, the top of your head, and then this
just goes through the nose, up the nose.
It just goes the nose, and then the tube attaches to your CPAP hose. And so that's an example of one of these minimalist things. And there are many people that still use a traditional mask. It fits them better. They're more comfortable that way. It doesn't move around. Maybe they toss and turn as a person, so it's a little more secure. So there's nothing wrong with the different masks. And then here's the one. Oops. All right. Here's the one that I really like. And this one's really a mind blower. All right. This is the mask. This is it. And there are on the end of these little things magnetic magnets. And then these are it's a sticky tape with a steel rim. So you would apply this, just stick it down over the two nostrils and magnetize it right on there. And that's it. There's nothing on your face, no straps.
But it's somewhat secure because of the magnet.
It's completely secure, and it has no leaks. And when you get into this, you'll realize that leaking is a big thing, that the mask kind of lifts and the air comes out. But this thing does not leak. It has its own slight disadvantages too, but that's what I use. And if for some reason I want to, I'll go and just slip this on. So
Okay. So
that's
what is
fine.
the brand of the magnet?
It's only one, and the company is called Bleep. Like, what the bleep did you just say?
Uh-huh.
Bleep Sleep,
Bleep Sleep.
bleepsleep.com.
Love it. Okay.
And this particular system, he has two, is called the Eclipse, like a solar
Okay.
eclipse. I don't know
Okay.
why, but that's what it is.
Okay.
So that's the Bleep Sleep Eclipse. Amazon sells it. You know, you can get them anywhere. And once you get going with insurance, if you choose to go with insurance, it will cover this. Now, the next day after my diagnosis and seeing my report, I went out and bought a machine. I wasn't going to wait around for insurance issues. I could afford to do that. And I also didn't want to be told what machine you will buy. And
Right.
so I bought my own machine. I buy my own masks. And I think this is a common issue with people that can afford it to, okay, well, let's buy this mask and give it a try. Okay, well,
Uh-huh.
that didn't work. In the box it goes, and
Right.
you'll see on these forums that commonly we all have the box of stuff
Yes.
we try that just does not work for us. It doesn't fit our face. We can't figure out the settings. And that's when you go to Sleep Q and say, hey, I've got the such and such mask. I'm having trouble with my respiratory setting. Anybody got some tips?
And
There's another
that's a
feature on Sleep HQ. Anybody can visit it. You don't need an account, and it's free for 2 weeks once you start to use it, and then there's a small fee. But if you'll search on their website on the left-hand side, there's a whole bunch of categories there, one of which is mask analytics.
okay.
Mask analytics. And you can click that, and it'll rate 50 masks on 5 different qualities and then an overall score. It's
Okay.
really, really cool. And this guy comes in number 1. Yeah.
And
Um,
you're holding up the magnetic one.
the Eclipse. Yep.
The So
The
is
Eclipse.
it Bleep Sleep
Well, that's the
Eclipse?
company.
Oh,
Yeah. And
gotcha.
that mask is called an Eclipse. They
Okay.
make another one called Dreamport, which nobody buys or uses, but it's still for sale because you may have already bought it and
Okay.
whatever. And then this one that I use, I think it's rated like number 30. So, it's not a highly rated one, but anyway, it'll help you do some shopping and trialing and error of masks to try.
And I think for anyone that is just listening, when you find our podcast on YouTube, you can visualize all the masks that Beverly has been holding up. And I think you'll be able to see that she's a very thin woman. So it's not always people that are overweight, like she mentioned before, that end up with sleep apnea.
And if you have a child who's a bedwetter,
Uh-huh.
there is a possibility that child has sleep apnea, and I mean it's ADHD. It's a possibility that's sleep apnea. So the potentials for sleep apnea are huge. And of course, with
Yeah.
children, they often have swollen tonsils and sinus infections and all this from eating dairy, which will usually take care of it when you stop. But but anyway, I just want to throw that out. It's all ages, all sexes, all races can have sleep apnea.
And there are just so many directions we could go today, Beverly. I'm gonna have to cut us off, but you,
Can I
you,
mention one more thing?
yes,
I want to
absolutely.
mention mouth tape
Okay.
because I've been taping my mouth for 15 years. And this is the brand I use, Somnifix, Somni like insomnia,
Okay.
Somnifix. And now that I'm on CPAP, I've actually switched to a different mouth tape. But I think the first step for everybody is to tape your mouth when you sleep. Children as well. I don't mean babies, obviously,
Yeah.
or people with sinus problems that can't breathe. But taping your mouth is essential, and learning to keep your tongue pressed to the roof of your mouth is essential. That is something, a habit you have to develop, is day and night when you're not speaking or eating, your tongue should be laying against the roof of your mouth, and that will keep your airway open. So, but taping your mouth is essential. And I have 3 articles and podcasts on it. And no, it's not masking tape or duct tape. There are special tapes. that do this that are comfortable and come off your face. So I just wanted to mention that.
Well, thank you, Beverly. And the the podcast is Hormone Heroes, so I do believe you are a hormone hero on so many levels. But is there any last statement you'd like to make for our listeners?
Well, on the topic of CPAP, I want to say, remember how we started out, and I'm saying we want the big pieces of chemistry. That's where we're going to help change your 2, 5, 10, 12 health and comfort issues is with big chemistry, not with a handful of supplements. And clearly breathing and 8 hours of sleep and bad breathing is a huge large piece of your chemistry that's affecting every cell of your body. And like I say, the first week I started using a CPAP, I didn't have to get up to use the restroom at night. I've been doing that for 20 years. So it's just, so yes. And my brain is working again. Oxygen is thriving. And yes, so anything that can help ward off dementia, of course, as well, is useful. So looking for the biggest pieces of your chemistry, getting that herpes virus under control is a huge part of my practice. And that's why, because it's a big piece of chemistry, and diet will change it. So that's the goal, is change your chemistry in big ways, and then we can supplement the pieces that have not yet responded to the food or the CPAP or whatever.
That's awesome. And Beverly, tell us again how to find you.
The website, it's a huge website. There's hundreds of articles and podcasts there. The online store has 150 supplements right from my clinic shelf. It's ondietandhealth.com. And the podcast, Primal Diet, Modern Health. Yes, eat paleo and look for the best of modern healthcare, which can be anything, but how do we find the best? How do we run the best lab tests? How do we find the best solution for each problem that we can? Well, there's a contact on the website. So that's how I encourage people to just hit that contact, and it'll send me an email. I'm old-fashioned this way. I use email for a lot of my work. I don't do texting and so on. So yeah, just hit that contact button and tell me what you want support with, or go and look up. Oh, also, I'm really big on Pinterest. I have an extremely large Pinterest page on diet and health. That's an excellent way to search for things too, in addition to the website.
That's fantastic. And I encourage all of our listeners to search out Beverly. She is a mountain of experience, and just her knowledge is so vast that we probably just barely scratched the surface today. But thank you so much for your time today, Beverly. We appreciate you.
Yes, thanks for the opportunity to share about sleep apnea. I'm very passionate about it, as you can hear from having just found out about all of this myself. So let's spread the word.
Okay. Thanks, Beverly. Thanks for listening to Hormone Heroes. Take a moment to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss the next episode. While you are there, help us spread the word by leaving a rating and a review. If you would like to share your bioidentical hormone story or need help finding a physician in your area, please email us at drkelly@hormoneheroes.org. That's DRKELLY at HORMONEHEROES.org. We want you to be a hormone hero.